Today we are making a blanket with Chris Nemes from Nemes Rush Private Wealth Management. Chris, thanks for making a blanket with me today.
Nick, thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to it.
Are you excited to chat?
I'm excited to chat, as I always am.
Awesome. And you're excited to make a blanket as well?
100%.
Now, I normally need to ask if you know how to make a blanket. Today, I don't think I need to because Nemes Rush has actually done a couple blanket making events with us, which we're really grateful for. So we're going to be tying some knots today. I've done the cutting for you. Do you have any questions about knot tying before we get into a conversation?
I do not have any questions. I think this will be my 10th or 11th blanket made. So
At least.
I
feel like you're at least on 10 or 11.
Yeah,
I was thinking in the 20s.
We had a few, probably a line of 8 to 9 people going for 2 hours at our last event. So
it was awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really cool. It was a client appreciation event, usually right around the holiday season. All the clients get together and support Fleece and Thank You. We make a ton of blankets, make some kids' days, and eat some pretty good food at Genetti's in Northville. If you know anything about Northville or you're in the area, check out Laura at Genetti's.
Yep.
Did their murder mystery the other weekend. It was like a comedy. It was really fun, really hilarious, and they're just great there.
Absolutely. And one thing, too, that I'll say is that when we do those events, which tend to be around Christmas time, we have around, normally 50 to 65 people that show up as clients. They end up being incredible events. Nick gets to meet a lot of them personally, and it's wild to me that so many of them love making blankets so much that, as I mentioned before, we'll make lines of 9 or 10 people and just make as many blankets as possible. I think we've done over 65, I think 70 plus each time that we've thrown the event, and we've got nothing but great feedback from it. And it brings our clients closer together and also us closer to our clients by doing something, in the volunteering light with our friends, with our family, for the kids. So it's been a beautiful event every single year.
Sure has.
And we're happy to be a part of it.
Awesome. Yeah, we appreciate it. The first year we did it, it was the first time we were testing the waters, and there was a bunch of food all over the tables, and we were going to make blankets in like the side room, and then all the clients were just like, hey, get this food off this table. Let's put blankets down here and all of these, and let's just get to making blankets. So that was sweet. All right, so let's kick this off as we make a blanket here with an idea. What is like a core belief or idea that you hold that you know to be true from your life's experiences to today?
So I would say, based on really everything I've done since you and I met way back in the day, the one idea that was taught to me by my father is that the only thing worse than not having an opportunity is having one and squandering it. So looking back even to, athletics, academics, and leadership positions back in high school when you and I met and began to hang out, I think putting yourself out there, whether it's for, I want to run for class president, I want to make this new club that kids can be a part of, I want to be the captain of my team, you really just have to look at an opportunity that's placed in front of you and say, let's attack it. Because there's, I think, all too common nowadays is people just sit by and watch the world pass instead of attacking every opportunity in front of them. And if you fail to do that, I think you're doing yourself a disservice and you're missing out on a lot of learning opportunities. So plenty of examples that I can run through and talk about, but that's the idea that I'd like to talk about today.
Cool. I love that. And I think as we converse, it'd be cool if you can pinpoint times when you feel like you made the most of opportunities, and also times when you look back and say, man, I didn't even see the opportunity there, or I squandered it for whatever reason. We'll get some actionable takeaways so that we will not repeat any of those or repeat the best parts of those.
Absolutely.
So tell us where we're at today. Who are you today? What do you do day-to-day, job, hobby, likes? Who are you today? And then we'll take it back to the beginning and fill in the blanks.
Absolutely. So today I am a CPA and financial advisor. I'm a partner in a private wealth management firm. I work with my family, so I work with my cousin as a partner and also my father as a partner. And what we do is we help people achieve their goals, whether it's multi-generational, making sure that the next generation has college funding paid for, whether it's helping people retire on time, having enough funds to be able to say, you know what, I'm comfortable at 56, 57 years old. I'm ready to retire. What's my situation looking like? Or even things as little as, our clients will ask us, hey, I hurt my knee. Which doctor should I go to see? So really, we like to take a comprehensive advising approach, and we become more than just advisors, but friends to the people we work with, which is something that really kind of dovetails with what I like to do. I practiced as a CPA at Deloitte. I was there for 4 years, and I absolutely loved the challenges that came with it. We were working on gigantic Fortune 500 clients, on huge teams of people, and it was an incredible experience. It taught me a lot about leadership and management. But I think the one thing that I was missing was more of the interpersonal connection with my clients. So whereas in my previous role, it was teams of 20 or 25, and we were working together, and we'd have a meeting with the client every quarter or so where we could get face-to-face after all the preparation. Now it's every day. I'm meeting with someone new. I'm hearing a new story. Someone's got a new opportunity for me to help them, or they're looking for something that I can help them achieve. So I really think of what I do as kind of interpersonal connections, helping people achieve their goals, and really raising all boats in the harbor. And that's what I look to do on a daily basis. And when it comes to personally outside of work, I'm a big fitness enthusiast. 2 years ago, I ran my first marathon, which I'm not sure I'll do another one, but I love challenging myself athletically. That comes from.
And you finished the marathon.
I did
Yep.
finish. I finished with a smile, and I raised money for St. Jude. That's another passion of mine is St. Jude Children's Research. They helped save my cousin's life. So in return for that, I decided to run a marathon and raise money for them. So that was a great achievement of mine, was not only finishing the marathon, but being the top fundraiser for St. Jude that year. So it was
awesome.
really,
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. It was a special time. And my cousin Laura, who's still doing really well today, she lives out in Grand Rapids. She was helped a bunch by them, and it was just a great opportunity. So I love challenging myself in a lot of different ways. And golf is actually one of those new ones. I'm looking to hopefully take a little bit of that athleticism that I used to have and apply that to golf.
Very good.
Yeah.
St. Jude's awesome. And if, like, a lot of people hear the name St. Jude, and we know, and we go with, yeah, they do great work. I know a lot of people support them. They must do great stuff. But if you're listening to this and you don't know the answer to this trivia question, I'm not going to give you the answer. I want you to Google it. Google what the daily operating budget is for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Google how much it takes just to run that hospital every single day, and then donate $5 to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, because they do amazing work, and it takes a lot to keep that organization going. So thanks for running for St. Jude. You, in your career, you said Deloitte, you talked about Nemes Rush. You have been in two really different boats, the big fish boat, and small business only from the standpoint of small team.
Right.
And so big business, not a lot of face-to-face with clients, not a lot of that personal connection, now getting that every single day. So I got to think that you've learned a lot from those two boats that you've been in. What would be the biggest thing that you've learned having been in both boats when it comes to serving a client? So if someone's listening to this or watching this, maybe they're in one of those two boats, or they're around the same age and in one of those two boats, and they're maybe struggling with the connection with the client. Again, in either boat, what's a takeaway you've learned from being in both about serving clients and connection?
I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is that there's an element, and it comes back to what I was saying earlier with my idea of making the most of every opportunity that you're given. When it comes to the bigger firms where you're dealing with Fortune 500 clients, your opportunities come in your ability to work smarter and work harder than really anybody else around you. So for me, that meant, it was the late nights, and it was a lot of travel, and I was busy running around, barely getting into bed by midnight most of the week. But it was really fulfilling in the sense that, there was a competition that existed to serve the client the best way amongst the team members. So we were all competing with each other and for the same goal, which I thought was a really interesting part about it. That does bring in some politics into play, which may be difficult for some people to navigate. And I think that's the biggest difference between the big firms and where I am now. I'm on a 7-person team, so we've got 4 advisors and 3 support staff, and it's an incredible group. And the competition is strictly with outside competitors instead of within the firm. So I'm not competing with somebody else that's sitting next to me or sitting, in the office 2 doors down for a promotion. We're all working to make each other better so that we can build the practice from within. So, of course, there is that idea as well with the bigger firms, but at the smaller ones, the political aspect of your career just really doesn't exist because your only competitor is yourself. You look to say, how much am I willing to do today to build my own business? How much am I willing to do today to help my partner build his? And so there's a whole different level of cooperation. And to me, it's a much tighter knit group. So I appreciate that quite a bit. With that said, though, I think it comes down to what you're looking to get out of your career. And for me, when I was looking to make the move, when I was in my first 1 to 3 years at Deloitte, I never thought I was going to leave. I was on the partner track. I was ready to go. I wasn't going to quit, and I was going to make it there. And then I had this kind of realization as I was speaking with my father about different opportunities that are laid out in front of you. So for me, ultimately, I thought it would be the biggest mistake of my life if I didn't, take the chance and take the time to go work with my hero, who is my father, learn from him as one of the leaders in the industry, and see what he had to teach me. And really looking back at it now, it was a difficult decision because a lot of the leadership that was within our group was against me leaving, and they wanted me to stay. And I have absolutely nothing but good words to say about Deloitte, and it was a great organization, but I wouldn't change it for the world. Coming over into Raymond James at Nemes Rush, working with my father, my cousin, and my other partner, Tim, it's really been a transformative experience, and I wouldn't give anything away for that.
If you're maybe a college student watching this and you're interested in the financial industry, CPA, wealth management, how should they make that choice of which way to go? Go for the big company or smaller team? How should they make that choice?
I think they make that choice by starting bigger. And I say to anybody who's interested in accounting or finance that Deloitte is one of the best places where you can start your career because it's drinking from a fire hose, which again ties in with what we're talking about in terms of, not squandering opportunities, is that you're going to have at a big company when you're in either a consulting role or you're on a team that's serving big clients, there's opportunities left and right. And they're looking for people that are able to take those opportunities and make the most of them. So if you're somebody that believes, I want a fast-paced career, I want to learn as much as I can, as soon as I can, which I would 100% recommend to any college student, then starting at a place like Deloitte or a big firm in whatever industry you're deciding to do is the best place to do it. And you can always move to a mid-size, you can move to a small size, you can start your own business after that. But those transformative years of 22 through 26 or 27, the first 5 years of your career, are highly important. And I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you didn't take on the biggest opportunities, the biggest challenges, and work with big teams and big clients.
I took a similar path in that I did the internship route with Quicken Loans, so big company in Metro Detroit, around the nation really. And when I look back on it, going from a Quicken Loans to eventually a small business, I think I picked up really good habits at that corporate level of big company corporate that I've taken with me into small business to make the small business appear just as professional as that culture and all the good parts that come from the structure, bringing that discipline into a small business where, if left to your own devices in a small business without good structure and process, you you're kind of could just go not off the rails, but you can all of a sudden wake up one day and be like, what did I do for the last 6 months? What, like I had no goals for myself. Like I had not much accountability. Didn't really know how I got to here. And so that's my 2 cents on starting big and going to small. I think I took all the best parts of the discipline and the culture and the habits into small business.
Absolutely. Couldn't not agree more with that. And me personally, I think that when it comes to dealing with clients and dealing with prospective clients, that's something at Deloitte where it's taken so seriously that they'll put together a team of 50 people when it comes to a prospective client, and they're just putting together one slide deck, or they're just getting ready for one meeting with one Deloitte partner and 2 people from the prospective client. And so for me, I never downplay the importance of any interaction that I have with my clients, because I have experienced what that service level looks like when it comes to the best of the best. And the people that are the Deloitte partners who are really successful and they're the rainmakers of their industry and people look up to them, they're the ones that I learned my method from. And I continually adjust that with whether it's research that I do, or I look at, the way that my dad, Charlie, meets with clients, and I adjust whether it's my process of preparing an agenda, whether it's talking points that I want to run through, the way that I develop a plan, et cetera. I think you take, just as an example, 80% of what you learn from somebody in that big, firm experience, and you add on 20% of your own, and you consistently change it over the course of your career. And as a way to give back, anyone that works for you or anyone that works with you, you pass on those skills, you pass on those attributes that you've been gifted to learn. And that's what really makes and builds a strong team, is that continual transformation. Because as the industry changes, no matter what it is, you're going to have to change the way that you transact, the way that you deal with clients, the way that you build your agendas and do your slide decks and present different ideas. So for me, I couldn't agree more. And I think that learning in that big place will teach you a lot, because you might love it. You might be somebody that's going to stay there for your entire career and work till you're 62 at Deloitte and till the forced retirement age.
Yep, and nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. Or you might say, you know what, I'm going to take those skills and do something else. And that's what I decided to do. And I think, like I said, I wouldn't do it any other way. I mean, I think it taught me so much that was valuable, about whether it's just the smaller details in client meetings, or dressing properly, or there's so many lessons. It's hard to list them all, but it was a great experience. And taking that big approach at the smaller business level, where you only have a team of 7, is so highly important. Can't speak to that enough.
The step you took from Deloitte to where you are now it was a very entrepreneurial step, in the sense of you're essentially building a business. You're building your book, your clients, all that stuff. And I think that it's really important to highlight one of the things that frustrates me, listening to different podcasts, watching different videos. There's sometimes like way too much to one side of the spectrum of almost job shaming a 9-to-5 job, and way too much glorification put on, oh, quit your job, entrepreneur, follow your dream, all that stuff. But I think it's important to note that it's about the fit. In my eyes, it's about the fit. If staying with Deloitte would have been the best fit for you, I have no doubt that you would have stayed at Deloitte and been happy, and that would have been awesome. For you, you felt like your fit was calling you to step into small business, entrepreneurial, working in and under and with your father and learning from him, and just take that path. And now you've realized that was a great fit for you. But always important to note that it's not like either decision was right or wrong because of the decision. It's only relative to the fit. Right.
And it's true too, because I read an article about what you're speaking about now, in terms of this 9-to-5 shaming of people. And I disagree wholeheartedly with that. I think there's a lot of people that, maybe for them, Their career is important to them, and it helps them with health insurance for their family, and it helps them put food on the table and pay the mortgage. And to them, they would rather spend time, whether it's, doing a hobby, whether that's with a family member, or, they want to volunteer their time down at the soup kitchen helping others. They have their own interests, and they're going to find a way to change the world for their own. I mean, it's not just entrepreneurs and business owners that do it. I think personally, you're right. It was a big entrepreneurial change in my life. I went from a highly steady salary with raises and bonuses that I knew were relatively predictable. I mean, depending on the success of the firm, they could change. And then I went to the total opposite end of the spectrum, where it's really an
make your own way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an eat what you kill. And I think to me, that's exciting. It's been something where, at times it's difficult. You put in a lot of work and something might not pan out. And let's say it's 50 hours that you put into a proposal for a client, or you get ready for a meeting and the meeting gets canceled, or, they decide to go another way. And that's really difficult. And I think,
or they just something small happened in their day and they have to cancel.
Right.
It's like, man, I have prepared weeks for this, and you had a bad piece of salami at lunch, and now you're calling it off?
Absolutely.
What?
Yeah. And so for me, it's been, just a gigantic learning experience. And I look at a book that I read, which I would recommend to you and anyone that's listening, and it's called The Dip by Seth Godin. And the reason it's so interesting to me is that it applies to everything you do, whether it's a career that's more of a 9-to-5 as an employee, whether it's as a business owner, you're starting a new sport or a hobby. But essentially it talks about whenever you start a new venture, your excitement level is high and you're ready to go and you're ready to tackle it on. Like let's use as an example, you start to play the piano and you're super excited. You buy all the new gear, you buy the instruction books, and you get lessons. And then as you start into playing piano, you notice, well, hey, I'm not that good, right? All this excitement that I had isn't going to make me a better player. I got to sit down, go to work, make it happen. And as that kind of progresses and you start thinking to yourself, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it out, you're going to have to make a decision at some point of saying, am I going to keep busting it out, practicing 2 or 3 hours a night so that I can eventually get up to a professional level of playing? Or am I going to quit? So a lot of people, I think, find themselves in that dip. And career-wise, that could be you're unhappy for a year because things haven't been going your way, or you've had a bad quarter or a bad couple quarters in a row, and you find yourself in that dip. And I think a lot of inspiration comes from you asking yourself, what's the next step here, right? So getting back to the example, are you going to double down on your practice and make it 4 hours or 5 hours a day instead of 2 because you're not getting the results you want? You're not getting asked to play at the concerts and performances that you want to be playing at? Or are you going to say, my time is better spent doing something else? And maybe for me, quitting is the best option. So when I read that book, it was during my dip of starting my own business and building my own book. And personally, I took the option of, I'm just going to double down my efforts. And so I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. From November all the way up until the beginning of February, I didn't really take a day off at all. I just worked and worked and worked, and all of that work began to pay off, and it's been a great quarter for me so far. And I think it's so important to understand that no matter what you're going to do, no matter what type of business you're going to be in or industry you're getting into, there's going to be a dip at some point. And to me, I think if you really love what you do and you don't see it as a job, you see it as a passion and something where you're helping people and doing the right thing and making an impact, then there's really no other option than just pushing through. And you never know at what part of the dip you're in and when it's going to turn around. But there will be a point where things start to go right all at the same time. And so for me, the peaks and valleys of entrepreneurship have been an interesting lesson, and I know they've been for you as well. With Fleece and Thank You, it's just sometimes it feels like nothing's going right at all, and then all of a sudden you have 2 weeks in a row where everything seems to be going right. So I think it's appreciating the good times, but not so much as to become arrogant and cocky in your your abilities. And also when things aren't going so well, just think, I've got to double down. I've got to work harder. I've got to stay at the office maybe a little later than I want. I got to work on Saturdays and Sundays. But ultimately, to me, that's what it's all about, is that, nothing worth having comes easy. So keep pushing at whatever you're doing. Wherever your dip may be, just work your way out of it, in my opinion.
Love that. The Dip by Seth Godin.
Yes.
You talked about a couple of things there that I want to stop off and get some perspective spikes on. So one was, to name the three, we'll dive into. One is just the balance of work and how hard or how far to go in working hard, going after what you want. Two is like really finding your passion and how you do that. And then three is this concept of proper nouns. First, let's start with balance of work. You said from November to February, didn't take a day off. For you, what have you learned? Like how do you know if you're going to burn out? Because obviously there's no human that can go every day and never stop. So are you in a period now, like when someone hears that, are you in a period now where you're able to not take your foot off the gas, but find a way to recharge? And that's what it's about. It's about recharging. And how do you know when that line is? And what's your advice for someone who says, man, yeah, I'm ready to go for 3-4 months, like I listened to Chris do? And what's like your piece of advice for knowing when to recharge?
So it's a timely question that you ask, because I just got back from a 4-day vacation that I took with my family. We went to Utah, and one thing that I love to do is ski. So every year I'll try
water or snow?
Snow ski.
Copy.
So
I don't know if they water ski in Utah.
They do.
Need to clarify.
Utah is actually a very popular summer location too, and there is great water skiing there as well.
Got it.
But we were snow skiing in Park City, so that was 4 days with my family, and it was really a beautiful time to recharge. I had really delayed that, what everyone takes as their Christmas vacation until the end of February, and it's a good question, because when I say working every day too, I don't want people to think that it's, on a Sunday I'm getting into the office at 8 a.m. and I'm leaving at 8 p.m. What I mean by that is that during the week I'm working probably 10 to 12 hours a day, roughly. On Saturdays I like to work 4 to 5 hours in the morning, and on Sunday I prepare for my Mondays with maybe 2 to 3 hours at night. So for me, I still find time within those slots to get to the gym, to hit balls for golf, to hang out with my beautiful girlfriend Lisa, who also, she's a doctor, so she's busy as well. And
she's a good human.
Absolutely, she's the best, and I respect what she does too. So she gives me inspiration, because a lot of times she can't hang out on the weekend because she'll be on call on a Saturday. So she's in at 6 a.m. and she doesn't get out the next day until 10 a.m. And so for me, it gives us both a chance to, she's a resident in pediatrics, so she's chasing her dreams, I'm chasing my dreams. But the balance to me is just making sure that you never get to a point where you're physically or mentally unhealthy. And it was a lesson that I learned in my busy seasons as a CPA. A couple times pulling an all-nighter or flying back from New York at 6 in the morning on a Friday after not having slept that Thursday night through Friday morning, and staying at it for 40 hours or 36 hours at a time, and then crashing and sleeping for 14 or 15 hours, and really feeling that drag on your body that Saturday and Sunday as you continue to work. And so for me, that's something that I try not to do. If that happens maybe one night every 6 months, then that's fine, where you have to work all night. But really, I try to find my balance and all of that maybe more on a monthly or a quarterly basis. So with the example that I just cited, it was an everyday, a couple hours a day on the weekend at least for 3 months. But then I did take a 4-day break where I was able to go ski for 7 hours a day, and still staying up to date on my email, but maybe just checking it for 30 or 45 minutes a day, focusing on what's important, which is my family, and keeping that in perspective, because it's really easy, and again I learned this at Deloitte, it's really easy to lose perspective when you're so focused on achieving your career goals. And There's a lot of people that unfortunately have health issues or mental issues or family issues that result from not taking that time off and not having the monthly or weekly or quarterly, work-life balance, if you will.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to that perspective, it's use the phrase to lose that perspective. And I think the perspective is that, look, you get this one life here, and yes, we all need to work for the most part, but you get this one life here. And if the work has a negative effect on the one life that you get, that's the perspective that we're talking about. So segue that perspective into the second thing, which is, I think whether it's the big corporation or the small business or somewhere in between, the whole point of all this is just about how do you find your passion and share your energy with the world, because that is what's going to light you up, and that's what's going to make other people better. That's what's going to allow you to leave a legacy, allow you to go to bed happy and wake up happy. How does someone go about finding their passion if they don't know where it is right now?
I think in that instance, what you would do is take more of a shotgun approach, whether you are in college or you're early in your career. I'm personally not an advocate of people quitting too early, but I think if you're sure that what you're doing currently is not your passion, and personally, I made the decision in my head when I was to leave Deloitte, when I was in Houston, and it was probably 8 or 9 p.m. I'd been in the office all day, and I was just taking a break to go get a water, and I thought to myself, wow, I haven't been outside all day. I haven't talked to any more than 4 people all day. I love doing the challenging work, and I love the team in general, right? We do a great job, and we've got these great clients, and the work is amazing. But to me, that was kind of the moment of clarity, if you will, where I said to myself, I just don't think this is for me. And I didn't make a snap decision and quit the next day by any means. I finished out the busy season. I stayed for a few more months and just made sure that it wasn't some, flaw in the software that I thought,
Yep.
That I should be leaving, and maybe it was just a bad busy season or it was a bad client. But ultimately, it came to me in a sense that, what are you doing? This isn't what you love. You love the numbers aspect of it, right? You love helping people. You love the finance portion of your job. You love putting together the spreadsheets and the accounting and the problem solving and doing all these amazing things and working with amazing people. But this specific job is not meant for you. And so I had that thought, and to me, for anyone that's thinking, maybe I'm not doing what I want, well, then take a second, think about it, whether it's a month or a week or what's ever comfortable with you. And ultimately, if you don't believe it's right, then you got to try something else. And for me, I can't imagine what life would be like now if I was still back at Deloitte. I would probably be happy, and I would probably, maybe be enjoying what I'm doing and probably be relatively healthy, but I don't want to just be kind of happy or just happy. I want to be ecstatic about what I do. I want to come in and be killing it. And if I have to work on Saturdays and I have to work on Sundays, then to me it doesn't matter, because it's a passion of mine, and it doesn't bother me to be in the office. Some people, if you said you have to be in the office on Saturday, like in Office Space, for example, it's people's worst nightmare.
Yep.
And for me, it would just be really disappointing if I was spending all this time every day on something that didn't excite me and didn't want to bring me back in. So for me, I tried something new. I joined this business. I started my book, and I've had my struggles. And as we talked about before, everything's not all sunshine and rainbows, no matter what you do. But if you're really passionate about it, then it's not an issue. And I haven't had a single thought like that one I had in Houston while I've been working at Nemes Rush. So for me,
Awesome.
that tells me a lot, and it keeps me passionate about what I'm doing. So I would say to those people that you just maybe take more of a shotgun approach, and again, be very pensive about it. Think about what your options are, and just take it from there, because you never know what's around the corner.
You talk about finding that happiness. For you, you had an outlet to work to find it in in a small business by joining up with, under the leadership of your dad. If you're someone who might not have that door, there, like you said, the answer is probably not walk into the office tomorrow and quit. There are so many ways to just like taste from the platter of life. And I like, if life is the ideal appetizer sampler, it's out there. There's a way out there for you to get a taste of what you think might be the passion, the drive, the thing that you want to drop it all for and do. And if that can produce an income, that's a whole nother conversation, but there's a way to taste that. It's probably as simple in today's day and age as getting onto a LinkedIn and asking someone who does that to go for a coffee. And if you don't drink coffee, then to go for a tea. If you don't drink tea, then to meet you for a water or breadsticks, whatever it is. Like, there's someone who does what you think you want to do. And with how connected the world is, you can go and meet that person, talk to that person, get a phone call with that person, whatever it is. And that's how you taste. And if you have a good experience there, then you taste again, and maybe you decide it's not for you, so taste somewhere else. And you did that whole thing, by the way, outside of 9 to 5 when you were still getting your paycheck and living your life. And there's ways to do that. And I always encourage more people to taste from the appetizer sampler that we have in front of us, because we're more connected than ever. And the sampler platter is bigger than ever. It's bigger. It's right there. It's right there.
Right.
It's right there.
And that's a great point. And I think it draws on a couple things that I would like to mention. First of which is, if you're at a big company and you don't like what you're doing, don't stop doing a great job, because there's other opportunities within the firm, within the company that you're at, or the business, whether it's big or small, where you could fit in and say, you know what, maybe I don't like tax accounting for partnerships, but I might like it for individuals if I'm working with family offices or big family money in the area. I might like something more on the auditing side where we're looking at automotive suppliers, or maybe I want to do consulting for technology. Well, that's all available within the firm, depending on where you are. So, take that approach as well, is that in addition to looking outside, you can also look within, depending on, the size of the company that you're at, because there's opportunities all over the place. And to your second point, reach out to as many people as possible. There's, to me, a very transformative experience was working with the Catholic Foundation and coming into contact with one of my new friends who I've gotten a lot of opportunities through, including a golf trip to West Palm Beach with some of his biggest donors that have been making a difference at the Cornerstone schools. And so for me, it was simply going to a lunch and learn style presentation from the Catholic Foundation that was talking about estate planning, which is something that's highly relevant to my job. So as I was looking to improve my knowledge and help my clients, I came in touch with this foundation. Through this foundation, I met Angela Maloney, who's the CEO, and you and I put on the joint event for young Catholics in the area.
We did.
And made a bunch of blankets.
At the Foaling Warehouse.
At the Foaling Warehouse. Yep, which was a great time. And, again, made a bunch of blankets.
Foaling and fleece.
Absolutely. Helped a bunch of kids. I think there was 50, 55 people that ended up showing there. So it was a good crowd. And through all the work that I had done with Angela and Nick through this event, I was put in touch with somebody that needed an 8th person on a golf trip. And I didn't know who it was. I didn't know what it was for.
But you were down.
Yes, I was down. I was ready to go. And to me, there comes a point where you learn that being a yes man to the right opportunities and saying, I don't know what's going to come of this, but I'm going to put myself out there and accept the invitation. So I was able to go on this golf trip that was in part with the National Review Institute, where there was great speakers, and it was down at West Palm Beach at the Breakers, and we played 2 rounds of golf. And I met 7 other guys, 3 of whom I still stay in touch with to this day, whether it's through business, whether it's through volunteering that I do. I went down, so it was for the Cornerstone schools. They were all affiliated one way or another. And so I've gone down since then and done a day helping the children and the students at Cornerstone schools learn about what career path they want to take and how they want to give back to the community, and whether they want to be an engineer or a business owner or a musician, whatever their passion may be. And it's all led me to opportunities where I've met people that have changed my life, changed my perspective, simply by somebody calling me and saying, "Hey, Chris, we need an eighth. Can you do it?" And me saying, "Yes, I'll make it happen." Even though I don't know anyone there, I'm generally not uncomfortable around people that I don't know. It's
You're pretty
relatively,
extroverted.
yeah, it's easy for me to meet other people, but at the same time, if you're 28 years old and you're going on a trip with 7 guys who are all over the age of 60, and you think you
Be
might
intimidating.
not, yeah, it's a little intimidating. You might not think that you have anything in common
Or
but
anything
just-
to offer.
Right. Exactly. What am I going to have to say around these guys who have lived a full life and owned businesses and have changed people's lives all over really the United States and the world? But we came together, and what was really nice is we were on the way to a round, and the leader of the group said, "Everyone go around and, tell us a little bit about yourself and something that you would like to accomplish." And through that, we found out that really we're all looking to do the same thing, which is help educate the youth, right? We want the children of tomorrow to be as highly educated as possible. And in some areas, frankly, in Michigan, that's just not happening. And the Cornerstone schools are doing a great job of making a difference in that area. And so through that process of finding out that we had similar passions and similar beliefs, we all came closer as a result. And like I said, to this day, I still communicate with 3 of them very frequently. And, there's a lot of opportunities that have come even as a result of that trip, outside of just meeting these people and hearing their stories. So I think, to me, as you mentioned, whether it's reaching out to somebody on LinkedIn or someone calls you and says, "Hey, Chris, I think I've got an opportunity for you.
Mm-hmm.
It would probably be good for you. What do you think?" We'll be a yes man.
Yeah, sometimes you got to jump.
Right.
Something that stuck out while you were talking, and then we're gonna wrap it up with the talk on proper nouns. I was given a very good piece of advice, so I'm just passing this advice on. This was given to me in college, and it actually revolves around a taboo word to say, which is quitting. It's not. People don't like to talk about quitting something. The reality is that we try a million things in life, and sometimes they're not gonna be the right fit. And what was said to me was that if you're thinking about quitting something, anything, a job, a relationship, a friendship, a card club, bingo night, whatever it is, for 2 weeks straight, be the best that you can be at that thing, whatever it is. If it's a spouse, if it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, a friend, like a job, whatever it is, for 2 weeks, commit. 2 weeks, be the best you can be, and see how you feel after those 2 weeks, and then you'll really know if it was you or if it was actually just the wrong fit. And so passing that advice on, if you're somewhere in life where you're toying with quitting something, whatever it is, I challenge you for 2 weeks straight to be the best you can be at that thing and see how you feel after those 2 weeks, reevaluate it. And so we're going to finish with a really interesting topic on proper nouns. I think this is a really empowering activity, so try this with your closest friends and family. And I'm going to put Chris on the spot here to do this activity. But I think the world would be a really interesting place if, when we met new people, we weren't allowed to use a proper noun when we told them about ourselves, right? So often we'll meet someone for the first time or the first couple times. We'll talk about where we grew up, where we live now, our job title, the name of the company we work for, where we went to school, all these proper nouns. And who are you without the proper nouns is the question. So who are you, Chris, without using any proper nouns?
That's a great question. I would say I'm an acceptor of challenges.
I love it. Tell me about, I think in answering this question, if you're listening and saying, gosh, I don't know what I would say, I think you can talk about, what do you believe? What do you stand for? What would you die fighting to protect and save? What makes you happy? What makes you angry? What do you love in life? What challenges you? Those are all things that you can incorporate into that answer without using a proper noun. Imagine a world where when we first met people, we shared our beliefs and our visions as opposed to our proper nouns, how different conversations would start off.
It's a great point. And I think, just off the top of my head, right, in saying that, because you're right, there's so many things. I could tell you where I worked. I could tell you who my friends are. I could tell you what I do for fun, where I hang out, where I go to the gym. But for me, I think the reason that came to the top of my head is that no matter what I've been faced with, I think that what's helped me grow so much is, and it helps me fight for myself, my family, and other people as well, is just accepting the challenge, whether that's a self-created challenge, whether I say, hey, Chris, I bet you can't grow your business 20% in the next quarter. I bet you can't do this. I bet you can't do that. Or it's something from the outside that's a great challenge athletically or academically or career-wise, relationally, whatever it might be. I think that, everything that I do, including volunteering, is around that challenge of something needs to happen, and I'm the one who's going to accept it. So I agree, and I might start using that myself with my friends, my family, and my clients, because there's so many quick and easy answers, but they really don't get to the core of who people are and what they want to do. So I totally agree, and I'm glad I was able to come up with that one pretty quickly. But really, I think, speaking from the heart, that's something that's made me the man who I am today.
Yeah, ask someone, even the closest people to you, ask them that question. I promise you're going to learn something that you didn't know about that person. And don't be scared to ask new acquaintances, who are you, without the proper nouns, and see how much quicker you just make that rapport, that bond in conversation, how much easier it is, and how much more you have in common than you probably ever thought with someone across the table. So who are you without the proper nouns? Thank you for answering that question.
Absolutely.
And thanks for making a blanket together here. Thanks for talking about opportunity. Thanks for talking about making the most of the opportunities that we get, talking about some of the opportunities you've had in life, talking about the balance of work, how to find your passion, and who we are without proper nouns. I think that's really important. Thanks as well for all the support that you've had for Fleece and Thank You and the mission that we've had to comfort kids, and I have no doubt that we are going to be comforting a lot more kids in the years to come. So yeah, it's been a pleasure to chat. Thanks for making a blanket with us, and all the best to you in business and in life.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and we definitely look forward to working with Fleece and Thank You going forward. I think it's a great organization, and I think if you're at a organization where you've considered a client event or a customer event where you can, use Fleece and Thank You as a way to get closer to people and help kids in the hospital at the same time, I think there's really no better way. And we used to do a bunch of different events for people, but none of them have the same impact.
Appreciate that.
As Fleece and Thank You. So I would say thanks for having me on, and to anyone out there, I urge you, call Nick, give him an email. He always picks up.
Sure do.
And thanks again, man. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely, and it is all about the kids. It's all about the kids. So if you're on board for that, feel free to reach out, because we're on board for that, and thank you for being on board for that.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.